Game week's here. We're excited about that. East Texas A&M, Clint Dolzell, got a lot of respect watching their film for what he does. He was a really good multi-sport player there, played quarterback, so he's at his alma mater. He was a great arena player. Coached here at Parrish High School for our very own Scott Natty, who just thinks the world of him. So, and when you watch him play on film, they play the game the right way. They play hard. They have good fundamentals. So I think he's doing a good job, and excited to get to play them and really just play somebody else. We've kind of gotten to that point, which every year you're to that point at this stage. But I think with us, with 42 of our 85 new guys, like we really need to play someone else just to see where we stand. I think we got a long way to go. Just like they say in Eastbound and Down, long way to go and a short time to get there. But we need to start playing somebody to see where we stand. So we had a good fall camp. We're relatively healthy. Got a couple guys banged up. Nobody too serious. And like I said, Saturday night can't get here fast enough.
When you have the non-conference schedule that you have, and you're going to be playing teams like Baylor and TCU, how important then does a game like this become almost as a tune-up, especially in this college football playoff era where those games really matter for your resume?
Yeah, I mean, every game matters in the playoff era. I think you look back to last year, the Nevada game was less ideal than we wanted it to be. It ended up helping us long run because we were able to win it. So, we want to get to 1-0 and get that good feeling. But I think with us, you're going to look at our depth chart, I think comes out later today, like there's a lot of things still unsettled, particularly with our 2 and 3 deep kind of world. Like, okay, on offense, for example, I don't think anybody's going to be shocked by the 2 deep that comes out, but then you're going to look at who's behind those starters, and it's freshman after newcomer, and same thing on defense. We have a lot of new faces playing too in the starting role on defense, and so we just got to see how guys respond in that situation. Like, it doesn't matter who we're playing, a game situation, you just can't simulate it. I mean, I think back to last year, we're playing at Nevada, we got, a guy like RJ Maryland had like three busts the entire year, and they all happened in that first game. Game ones are just, you don't know what, they could come out and run a totally different defense, a totally different offense. So could we, right? You never know what the opponent's going to do. You have an idea. But how guys respond with people in the stands, game on TV, it's just, you learn a lot. And so we have a lot of guys in new leadership roles that have been here. How are they going to respond? How are they going to handle that? And we have a lot of guys that we need to count on this year. And again, to your point, in our non-conference slate, we're going to have to count on them pretty quickly. So I'm just anxious to see how our guys respond in a game situation. Is the moment too big for them? Kind of where are we in that development? So we know what we have to get better on real fast.
Do you think since you have Kevin at quarterback and that's such an important position, there's more questions about the defense, what it's going to be like early in the offense?
You would think so. I mean, we got more guys returning on offense. You start thinking of Jordan Hudson and Romello Brinson and Matt Hibner and RJ Maryland. I mean, that's veteran guys. You think of our O-line with Logan and PJ, and even some of the new guys we brought in played a lot of ball, and then, of course, Kevin. So we have less new faces, and most importantly, at quarterback. That gives you a lot of confidence that at least we kind of have an idea what our identity is, who we are, and all those things. Now, we still got to go out and execute, and early in the season, how crisp are you and all that. But then to your question, yeah, you look at defense. I mean, we got 2 returning starters, probably 4 or 5 guys returning that played almost as co-starters, but tons of new faces. And so, I think it's fair to say there's more questions on defense based on who's coming back. And so that's another thing we're really anxious to see. How do we stop the run? How do we run to the football? Again, same thing. How do we respond if they hit a big play? Like all those things that as you get week after week with a schedule like we have where there's not a lot of weeks that you're not playing a really, really good opponent that will hold you accountable if you don't play well. That's what we need to get out there and play and see what we're made of.
With Kevin, last year this time he was not the starter. Now that he's had the experience he had last year in this offseason, what do you see different in Kevin and how he's handling himself? And what are your different expectations for him going into the season?
Yeah, I think we all, starting with Kevin, expect him to take the next step. We don't expect him to be perfect. Nobody is. The way he's handled the offseason has been fantastic, both as a leader, both studying the game, the offense, physically, all those things. So I just want to see him go play and just, can he continue to be the player we all know he is, and maybe at an even higher level, and also lead our offense to value the ball better and do some other things we need to do. I think it's also fair to say this is, and De'Eric will tell you this, and I think De'Eric's been good for him in this, it's totally different going into the season and you have the entire January till now knowing you're the guy. It's just a different, I don't even call it weight, it's just a different feeling, right? And so this is still a first for him. I think did he start 11 games last year? So he's got 12 starts in his career, so roughly a season. So it's like a guy going into his second year, even though he's been here a minute. And so there's still a lot of new and a lot of growth to happen there. But, man, I got ultimate confidence in Kevin. Our team has ultimate confidence. So I just wanted to continue to be Kev. It's going to be plenty good enough.
Coach, what have you seen from East Texas on film, and is there challenges to preparing for a team who hasn't put any film together for week one?
Yeah, I would think going into year two, similar staff in terms of defensive coordinator and all and things they're doing. You expect them to be similar, and now they're probably like us. They have the off season and they go out. Hey, how can we maybe be better? How can we do this better? Maybe we should do more of this, less of this. Our personnel's changed, so there'll be some wrinkles. That's the thing about game ones. You usually get in the middle of the second quarter before you kind of have an idea to confirm what's happening. In some cases, stylistically, Clint himself offensively was a quarterback. He likes to push the ball vertically down the field. So I think a lot like us, you'll see his personality and what they do on offense. And then defensively, they're multiple fronts. They base out of 4 down, but they mix in some odd fronts, some bare fronts. So you'll see all the multiple fronts. They like to really take the air out of the coverage, similar to like Pitt. If you were here last year, like they're going to contest all the easy throws. They're going to make you make contested throws and get their safeties down in the run fits to stop the run and make you hit the low percentage throws and try to have an extra hat in the run game. So, again, like I said, the one thing that stands out when you watch someone else on film, how do they play? Well, their kids play hard. Like they run to the football on defense. They're physical. Like they play the game the right way. And so that's why I said what I said at the beginning. I just think he's doing a really good job. So there's a lot of unknown, and that's the hardest thing about game ones. There's unknown on your opponent, and then there's unknown on how, again, your new guys, and this new team will respond to things.
You mentioned all the freshmen that we'll see on the 2D. Is that somewhat a reflection of where the program is on the recruiting front right now?
Yeah, I think so. And I think, we still brought in a host of transfers, mostly still D-line, O-line, and then sprinkled elsewhere. But definitely at the skill positions, DB, receiver, running back, even some potential linemen. I think it's a credit to the fact that we're in the ACC, we're playing a different caliber of ball. We've had success that has attracted higher caliber kids out of high school. And so we've been able to kind of shift our focus more that way and not take as many transfers. And if we're going to do that, and you're going to go out and get really good players to pick SMU over bigger programs like they did, then they need to go out and play through their development maybe a little faster than we've been able to do in the past. So no pressure on any of them. They're all freshmen. You got to have patience with it. But, by the time we get through our first 4 games and have a bye week, and now you start getting into conference slate, they're going to have to grow up fast in those 4 non-conference games. And we're going to probably see a lot of good and a lot of not so good. But we do believe in their talent, and we think those guys are going to continue to get better and help us this year.
Coach, beyond what the scoreboard says on Saturday after the game, what do you need to see from your team to consider week 1 a success?
Yeah, so you look around the country, aside from the fact that it's just particular, there's a little usually sloppiness, penalties, turnovers, just some of that especially on the offensive side is guys just kind of trying to get things in, rhythm per se. And so, you hope you see a lot of those sloppy things maybe were minimized. You're going to have some of it because, again, we just haven't been in a game environment. It doesn't matter. We have officials at practice. We've had ACC officials come to scrimmages. Like, there's still nothing like it. But I hope it's as clean as it can be. If it's not, then we'll know where we are and what we got to go clean up. Most important, I just want our guys to play fast. I want our guys on offense to play fast. I want our guys on defense. I want to see 11 guys running the football. That's what we've done the last 2 years, and that's why we've been good. We swarm to the football. Obviously we'd love to be clean in the kicking game, and I think that's an area that that's a reasonable expectation. So, I want it to be as clean as possible, but I just want our guys to play hard. They make mistakes. Let's make them going fast. Let's not be hesitant. Let's not be thinking. And that's on us as coaches to not overload them to the point that they can't do that. and particularly those young guys. Just, man, go play to some degree, don't think. Just cut it loose, and then we can, correct some things from there.
Last year, when the final rankings came out, you were portrayed as being in this battle with Alabama for the last spot. Whether the committee saw it that way, I don't know, but ESPN did.
Yeah, create a good drama.
What, they're good at that sometimes. What did you learn out of that? Not the Penn State game, but what that experience of seeing how the ACC is viewed, seeing how your team is viewed, and what you got to do as moving on to the national stage.
Yeah. Hopefully my entire statement will be caught, not just snippets, but y'all know how that goes. Look, I think first of all, I think the committee did it. I'm thankful they let us in, right? But I think they had a hard job, and I've said it over and over. It's a hard job on good people. There's good people on a committee, and it's hard. There's human element, and again, college football and college baseball and basketball, but pro sports, you name them all, and even high school sports, there's no pageants, there's no contest. You never have coaches having to politic, should we be in, should we be out? It's, you finish in this, you're in. You don't, you're out. And so in college, that's what makes it unique. There is natural biases in our game. There's biases in life, right? It's the real world, especially when human element's involved. And to agree, I'll use Clemson as an example. I think a lot of schools have earned that. What Clemson has done over the last 10 to 12 years with Dabo, they have earned a reputation and a brand and a benefit of the doubt. They've earned it. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to be ranked every year, and some years maybe higher than that. I think they should be number one this year. But because of that reputation, they're going to get more of a benefit of the doubt of someone like us who hasn't been doing it over the last 10, 12 years as long. Now, I feel like we're growing. So that's just part of it. You have to accept that. And so, I think, but when it goes into the leagues, that's tough because, you hear about, non-conference schedules. Well, our league plays more than anybody. We had a winning record against the Big Ten and the Big 12 last year, and we beat the SEC more than any other league, yet the narrative at the end was we didn't play hard enough non-conference schedules. Or I've still never understood how the ranked wins work. We were being told on that last day we didn't beat anybody in the top 25, yet we went on the road and beat Louisville, and they were ranked. We beat undefeated Pitt here by like 4 touchdowns, and they were ranked. But for some reason, later in the year, those don't count. You see what I'm saying? So do they count when you beat them like they do in college basketball, or they only count if they're ranked at the end of the year and they decide to put Illinois in the top 25 instead of Duke, or they decide to put Illinois instead of Louisville, which is a human decision. And so those are the things that are just tough. And then, you start hearing, well, is it this or this school? And again, a name brand that has earned it like Alabama, you're like, well, it's probably going to be tough. And so I was really thankful they went on the merit of things, because it doesn't matter if you play in the ACC, the Big 12, the SEC, the Big 10. Every year, some leagues are stronger than others. But think of the NFL. Some years, the NFC East is a bear, and 3 teams get in. And only 1 gets in out of the NFC West. And the other years, it flips. And they don't change the dynamics of everything because one year, one league's stronger than the other. So, but it's a tough job because it's not balanced. You're like, well, this team from this league versus this team from this league. How do I compare it? So there's natural biases from leagues to teams, and it just is what it is. And so what I learned from that experience is we have to, and look, the way it went, we're probably not getting the benefit of the doubt next time. We need to be clearly in, I would think, until we can create a brand here that we want to where we get that benefit of the doubt. That's what we want to get to here. I don't think we've earned it yet. But as long as it's a human system, that stuff is going to be part of it. And so I think what I learned is, for us in the ACC, we have to be just that much better to leave no room for doubt. Because Miami should have been in the playoff last year. That wasn't hard. But they didn't get in. But you know what? You could argue that the teams that did get in deserve to be in too. So, where do you cut it off? And, Miami went to the Swamp and beat Florida pretty good last year. But no one was talking about that at the end. So I think that's just, it's part of it, and you have to accept that there's human elements involved, and so there's going to be human results.
Just being number 16 to start kind of show that you're on your way with the brand, because preseason rankings are mostly brands.
They are, and I think that shows that our reputation, we have earned the right to at least be thought of more favorably than we have in the past. It's a great point. And here's what's funny, right? Like, starting the year at 16 gives us a better chance than starting the year unranked. And it shouldn't matter, right? It should be, once they get to week 8, it should be on merit. But we all know if we win and stay ranked, then we climb faster versus starting out. And so, but yeah, I think the fact that we were ranked 16th really doesn't mean anything in terms of wins and losses, but it does show that the growth and the momentum of the program is going in the right direction. And so can we maintain and sustain that is kind of where we are right now.
Right, with the ACC move and the success of recent years, obviously a lot of former players and stuff have gotten more involved. And two guys I'm going to bring in particular, Craig James and Eric Dixon, they've kind of brought back their award that they had.
Mm-hmm.
With guys like that, how important is it to have them connected, and especially that connection to the success of the past? I mean, that was the last time this team was ranked,
Yeah.
early in the season and all that, those kind of years.
It's vital. It's vital to our program. I think it's vital to every program, but it's something that when we came back 3 years ago was a priority, is how do we get our former great players, whether they were from the 80s, like the guys you just mentioned, like Eric, Craig, Jerry Ball, or the guys in the middle, the Kelvin Beechams, the Cole Beasleys, the Emmanuel Sanders, the Marcus Hunts, and then the more recent, the Cortland Suttons, the James Prochets, the Rasheed Wright, like those guys, this is their school. And, you heard Eric in the locker room last year at Florida State, like there's been some pride restored. They want to come to the games. They want to be proud to be a Mustang, but it helps when we're representing better, right? But most importantly, we just want them to feel welcome. This is their home. We're only here because they were here. It doesn't matter if you were Doak Walker in the 30s or if you're those guys in the 80s, or probably the most valuable guys that nobody talks about are the late 80s and the 90s guys who came back when the program was trying to come back. And they took a lot of L's, but they sustained us to get us back to here. You know what I mean? So we want all those guys to be around. We had a former player barbecue a week and a half ago on a Saturday that we always do, and we had over 300 former players here. And I mean, just for them, my first year I think we had like 50. You know what I mean? So to see that many guys wanting to come back, our staff does a good job. But it's huge. It's huge to us sustaining this success and continuing to build the program back up to what we all want it to be. Because we're only here because those guys were here first.
Coach, how do you keep your team focused and hungry when you are ranked 16th and many players are on the watch list for trophies, so that they don't fall in love with preseason expectations?
It's a great question. And to Tim's question, this is what we asked for. We wanted players, on preseason watch lists. We wanted to be ranked in the preseason. We wanted high expectations, because that means our program is growing in the right direction. How do we handle it? We're about to find out, and I think we have a long way to go this year's team. I think this team has a lot of potential. I think we have a high ceiling. Also, again, I think we have a long way to go, and like I said, a short time to get there. And so how we handle it will be interesting, because success is really hard. It's hard to win 11 games back to back. I've said this a lot. I know you're tired of hearing it, but it's the facts. It's really hard to do that. It's really hard to do it 2 years in a row. But it's really hard to sustain that success. There's a reason programs do this a lot. We're trying to build a consistent program that, are we going to win the league every year? Probably not. But boy, that's our goal. And we want to be in contention as much as possible. And our goal is to get to that playoff every year. And our goal is to be ranked in the preseason and at the end of the season, more importantly, every year. All those things are what we're trying to achieve. So we're going to find out how we handle success. To some degree, it's a challenge with the team, especially the guys that were here. To another degree, it's a brand new team. Like I said, half of them are new. So, half of them may not even know we're ranked if we don't tell them, and so, which is fine with me. This is a good year for our program, because look, we want to compete to win the ACC and get back to Charlotte and get to the CFP. Our standard, our goals haven't been lowered. It's a new team. And so how do we continue to climb as a program? Success isn't always directly linear, but this year's a big year. How can we follow up last year? I think it'll say a lot about kind of where we are and how much further we got to go to get where we want to be.
I know you're not from here originally, but you always seem to have a lot of Texas pride and the way you recruit, things like that. With your non-conference schedule being almost entirely Texas teams, why is that something that's important to you, and what does that do for the program and the state?
Yeah, the schedules, I don't need all the credit for the schedule, because schedules get done a long time out in advance. Obviously we played TCU for a long time. The Baylor game was put on the schedule, I think probably 4, 5, 6 years ago. I'm not totally sure. But then playing schools like East Texas A&M, in the past Lamar, Houston Christian, we need to help out schools in our state. The state of Texas, high school football is the best, and the college coaches are great. Now, we all, I think, collectively want to win more national championships, but so we love playing, those schools in the non-conference to some degree. But also, you're going to see a shift too in the future of we still will be more than happy to play in-state schools. Like, I think there's a great part of the regionality of that, but we're also looking to play national brands, and we're fortunate to be the team here in Dallas, and so we want to go out and schedule some, this week 1 is just an incredible slate of college football, right? And, I think here in the next couple of years, we're going to be more in those week 1 games. That's where we're trying to grow the program. But look, when you play East Texas A&M, I know some former guys who played here have transferred or are on that roster. We play Baylor week 2. All these guys grew up playing against each other. We're probably recruited by both schools. So there's a lot of pride in that, and I think it makes sense for fans. It makes sense for you all, and it's great for the game. But the way the game is going, the regional piece is leaving us more. But I would think most years we'll play at least 1 or more schools from Texas, just because we think it prepares us for what's coming, because football's really well coached and really well done in Texas, both at the high school and the collegiate level.
All right.
Anybody else? We're good?
Thanks, man.
All right. Y'all have a